She's known for writing songs that appeal to young women, but he doesn't care. He thinks she's got that something. His friend wants to understand him, what makes her so commanding. Once a week they get together and talk all about her hits. Shootin', shootin' the Swift. I'm talking about shootin', shootin' the Swift with you.
Greetings, Swifties and potential Swifties. Welcome to episode 2 of Shootin' the Swift, the only Taylor Swift podcast hosted by me, Mike Keller, and my treasured co-host, Kit Shields. Say hello to the people, Kit.
Hello.
Today we're going to be discussing Taylor's first album, tellingly titled Taylor Swift. So how's your week been, Kit?
Good. How was your 4th of July?
Oh, I worked all day, and then I didn't do anything. I got up at 8, so I didn't do anything. But I heard a lot of fireworks.
Once upon a time you were going to be here for 4th of July.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't work out. We could have done this, we could have, podcasted together.
We could have spent the whole, 4th of July break recording every episode.
That's true, yeah, we could have knocked them all out.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been pretty grueling, I think. Even for me, big T-Swift fan. But yeah, I heard you had I saw on Facebook, you had a very nice 4th.
It was really amazing. Around 9:30, we walked a couple of blocks to our friend's church. Our friend is sort of like a maintenance guy at the church, so he has access to it, and he had already cleared this with whoever you have to clear this with, but he took us up to the roof. Yeah, with God. It's like a 5-story building, and took us up to the roof. It's a completely unobstructed 360 view of Chicago, like you probably see to the Rocky Mountains or whatever, because what's in the way. So we have the perfect skyline view in front of us, because downtown's probably 5 miles away, and just fireworks. Every person putting off fireworks in the city we could see. It was really, really cool. So I sat there in a comfy chair. It was a perfect night, not hot at all, but I didn't even need a jacket. Listened to Rhapsody in Blue a couple of times while staring at the skyline and watching all these fireworks, and it was really, really, really cool. And then we walked home, and we're pretty tired, and that's about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good night. I should have come to Chicago for the 4th.
Yeah, you should have.
Oh well. You live, you learn. I got to work at hey, keep it clean, buddy.
I can say butthole.
Alright, fine, that's fine.
That's not in the rules.
Yeah. That's true. But, yeah, I wound up working at a deli for 6 hours, and it was really slow.
Yeah, because everyone was having fun on 4th of July.
Yes, they were.
Not buying meat. Although Lee went to the deli yesterday morning. So.
I didn't see him.
Not your deli.
Obviously. It's been a long trip. Anyways, moving on. So we got some listener mail. We haven't uploaded our first episode yet, but we got some mail after last week's episode, and I thought I'd read some of that. Beach Bunny 73 says, "Thanks for the great podcast. Mike and Kit seem like really cool ladies, and I can't wait to hear more episodes." I was wondering, how does Kit get her hair like that? I love it. So Kit, you want to share some style tips with the listeners?
Yeah. I shower regularly. I use shampoo and conditioner. I don't follow that advice of you shouldn't wash your hair that often. I don't want to smell. And then I get out of the shower and brush it and leave my house.
All right, well, it's good. The Beach Bunny 73 is impressed. So. Very nice. Good to know. And then second piece of mail I thought we'd read. I was pretty surprised. This was a pretty big name. President Obama at whitehouse.gov. It was pretty short. He just said, "Great work, you two. Keep it up." So I thought that was really nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't even
released the podcast yet, and the president is already on this. That's
pretty good. That's
amazing.
Pretty good.
I'd have a hard time believing it, but I guess with the internet these days, that's how things work.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just reporting it here. I get the email from them. Okay, and then I do have one correction from our last week's episode. This is real actually, because nobody obviously would be able to send us in any corrections, but I was listening to the thing you sent me, the MP3 file, and while I was talking, I think it was while I was doing Taylor Facts, I said her mom's name, which is Andrea, but I said it like Andrea for some reason, and so I thought I'd correct that. Her name is, I believe it's just, I kind of like Frenchified it, so it's Andrea, not Andrea, or maybe it is Andrea, I don't know. I'm assuming that.
You just don't like how you said it.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was weird. I wonder how often I do that, like, without realizing it.
Did you get my correction?
No, what was your correction?
You didn't get an email from me?
Well, I haven't checked it for a little bit. I don't know.
No, I sent it right after the episode.
This was Kit's correction from last week. So it says, per Wikipedia, the song, which song?
Well, it was more that I had been talking about, like, one of her albums holds some record that, I think you said it was Speak Now, like, you were like, oh, you must be talking about Speak Now, like, where it has, like, the most number ones for a female, and she's really young, and it was actually, what I was thinking of was this record from Fearless, which is...
Okay, so this song is one of 13 songs from Fearless, charted within the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100, breaking the record for the most top 40 entries from a single album.
Which is incredible. I mean, 13 songs from one album were in the top 40. That's amazing. That
is pretty nuts. There's only like 15 songs on that album, I think.
Yeah, that's insane.
Wow. Good job, Taylor Swift. Congratulations.
And it's not even gender specific. I assumed it was like for a female recording artist, and it's just any artist. So that's cool.
There are 13 songs on that album. So that means that all 13 of those songs...
Wow.
That's crazy. Man. And she was, because we were talking about it last week, and you said, like, you were impressed that record was held by a teenage girl, and I was thinking, like, well, Speak Now, she would have been, I guess...
20, 21.
Well, maybe not.
But Fearless, she was, like, 18, 19?
Right, yeah, she would have been definitely a teenage girl. So.
Pretty cool.
Good job, Taylor Swift. Once again.
Kudos.
Never fail to amaze us. Especially Kit.
Big fan.
Yes. Okay, so this next segment, this is before we get to our discussion of the album, so if you're waiting for that, it's coming right up. But the next segment is called This Week in Taylor, where we I keep up on the Twitter and Instagram feeds and find out
have some news too.
Oh, okay. Do you want to go first?
Oh, okay. So, I'm reading... So, I read some celebrity gossip websites because I'm terrible. And one of the sites I read was doing blind item reveals for 4th of July. And if you don't know, a blind item is when there's news about a celebrity, but to avoid, like, libel, you just don't say who it is, but you give clues about who it is.
Okay.
And... So they were revealing, sometimes when enough time has passed or when the blind items are proven true and the general media reports it, then they can reveal them. And so they were revealing them, and there were like a couple about Taylor Swift, and like they were both things like, oh, she felt so bad, this celebrity felt so bad about the paparazzi crush at a restaurant she was visiting that she paid for everyone's meal in the restaurant. And then the other one was like, she did it again, went and visited sick kids at a hospital, and so anyway, I thought that was like right on.
Nice.
Good for you, lady.
I don't have internet at home for the listeners out there at the moment, so my internet exposure is very limited, so I'm just sticking with the social media stuff. This was my summary. Taylor had fun with her new cat, Olivia. She also went swimming. Later, she made an American flag cake with her friends. It had berries as the red stripes, and sources report it looked quite tasty. All right, well, Kit, do you know what time it is?
No.
It's album time.
Okay, is that what this segment is called?
That's what this segment is called.
It's album time?
Well, there's an album that came out earlier this year by a guy named Todd Terje, and I think that's how you say it.
Todd Turd?
Terje.
Tarjay?
Turdy. Todd Turdy. It's actually Mr. Hankey's stage name, and he has an album called It's Album Time. So I thought, hey, that'd be a good time. That'd be a good title for the segment, but apparently not.
He had an album called It's Album Time.
Yeah, because everything else everything else so far had been like EPs and stuff like that, and so now it's album time. Oh yeah, and it was a really good album. I think you might actually like it. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. Hey, you wound up liking Animal Collective a bunch, so.
I like one song.
I consider that a success.
Okay.
All right, so it's album time or not, whatever. Okay, so we're going to do a little background, and then we're going to run through the tracks. Well, first we'll talk about the album as a whole, then we'll run through the tracks, track by track.
Okay. Track by track.
Little background from Wikipedia. Taylor Swift is the eponymous debut solo album by singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. The album was released in late 2006. What's up?
Well, yeah, if you didn't know that, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
So it's the self-titled album, blah, blah, blah. The album was released in late 2006 when Swift was just 16 years old by Big Machine Records. Swift wrote the songs for the album during her freshman year of high school and has writing credits on all of the album's songs, including those co-written with Liz Rose. The album was a critical and commercial success and was certified 5 times platinum. 5 singles were released for the album, and all of them went platinum as well. So that's pretty good. Good sales. So, Kit, what did you think of the album as a whole? This was your first time listening to the album, is that right?
Yes. I realized I had heard maybe 2, maybe 3 of the songs, but that was it. I'd never heard any other ones. As a whole, I thought... I was looking at Wikipedia too while I was listening to it and kind of trying to think, learn about how it was made and that kind of thing. And I think that if this were okay, obviously things worked out well for her. So what do I know? But in terms of on an artistic level, I think this would be stronger if you took the songs that she wrote by herself and released it as an EP. I think it would be genuinely a great artistic pop album, but there's some filler, and it was weird whenever I would go, because I was listening to it with Lee, and whenever I would go, this song just sounds like a total throwaway. It would be a song that she wrote with Liz Rose, and the ones that I would go, now this is great, it would be, oh yeah, she wrote this by herself, which I assume that the ones that she wrote by herself are the reason, they're the basis for making the album. I'm assuming that, she was like, hey, here are 4 or 5 songs that I've written that, that I think are good enough to go on this album or whatever. And then they're like, okay, well, we need 4 or 5 more. And the ones that are the 4 or 5 more, I think, are mostly not good.
Okay. Huh. Well, there's only 3 that she wrote solo. But yeah, I mean, I agree that there's a couple on here that I feel like I could do without. Or I guess maybe they aren't necessarily bad songs, but they do feel generic. They don't feel like they kind of have that personal.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're just why would I listen to this?
Right. But the Liz Rose ones, though, I felt the one to me that was the most that way was A Place in This World, which was I'm just a girl searching for a place in this world.
Yes.
Remember that one? Okay.
Yes.
That one, I think that was the one I had that was kind of the weakest.
That sounds like if they released another Barbie animated straight-to-video movie and they needed a song for the end credits.
That was, I had that in my notes, that it sounds like it would be in a teen movie soundtrack. Maybe starring Alexis Bledel or something like that.
Yeah. And it's also to me that song is just kind of an alternate version of The Outside, which is a much better song. Oh,
speaking of The Outside, this is a little note I saw on Wikipedia. It says she wrote that when she was 12.
Yeah, and it totally sounds like it. In terms of the things that she's concerned about, and it also said she wrote it about her friends not thinking she was weird for listening to country music.
Right.
Just that's what I cared about when I was 12. That's really, I mean, it's hilarious, but also great, and it's a fine song.
Yeah,
I would put it in the stronger part of the albums, but I think Our Song, Should Have Said No, The Outside, and Picture to Burn.
Those are your favorites?
Yeah, I think Tim McGraw and Stay Beautiful are okay too. But I just realized these are the clearly to me clearly Our Song and Should Have Said No are the reason for the season. Right. There's really good, really good pop songs, and she has sole writing credit on them. So of the people involved in this album who know what they're doing, she seems to be number one, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That's, I'm looking through the list here. I really liked Mary's song, which was the My one. Not a fan?
No, I mean, no. It's just, it's not as bad as, like, if you needed I think if I had to pick a ballad from this album, I mean, because that sounds like a little bit of a ballad. It's not like Teardrops on My Guitar, but it's, like, more downbeat. I think that would probably be the one I would pick that is the strongest.
Okay.
But, it's just when she hits, I think almost part of the problem is, and I was talking to Lee about this, like, I've never, there's really no, like, straight pop, radio pop album that I've ever listened to, you know, in this much depth and, like, thought about every song on it. And I think there's, in a certain way, like, you're up against more than, like, say, okay, since, like, U2, since I've been talking U2 a lot, like, they have songs on their albums that are not singles, but usually there are reasons they're not singles, and the kinds of reasons are, this is an experimental track, or this track is 8 minutes long, or, it's purely instrumental or whatever, but it fits in with the album. Whereas on an album like this, the songs that aren't singles are just not as good singles as the songs that are singles, and that's the reason they're not singles. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, we didn't write as good a song, but we need a full album. And I think that's kind of a problem, and maybe that starts to go away as she progresses, and, like, obviously, if Fearless has 13 singles on it, so that's probably a stronger album. Red is, I think, you know, to the degree that she's experimental, it's more experimental than this album would be. But this album very much felt like, oh my god, we have 5 amazing singles written by this young girl, and then we need 5 more songs.
Yeah. No, and I would agree with that, and I definitely do think, pretty much as soon as Fearless comes out, I think, or when we do Fearless, you'll see that they're really beyond that point of, like, let's make an album, like a pop album. It's more like a singular vision, and there's not a lot of fat to trim, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I say, like, if you made this an EP with, like, the 5 strongest songs, I just think, like I said, obviously it was really successful, but as just kind of like an artistic statement of, like, I am a great pop songwriter, I think it would be stronger if it was just a few songs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's break it down. Let's start track by track.
Truck by truck. All
right. Tim McGraw.
Yes.
By Taylor Swift and Liz Rose. This was a collaboration.
Well, I think I have to think that sort of opening the album with this song, with a song called Tim McGraw, is kind of a statement of, this is a country album. I consider myself part of a group of country artists. I want to open for Tim McGraw on his tour. And this seems like a good way to get that. And I also think I said until we got down to, let's see, I'm trying to go through the track listing. Until we got down to, because the strongest singles are at the very end of the album, really. So until we got to Shoulda Said No, I thought the first 2 songs were the strongest. So I think that this is a good just statement of, like, this is the kind of songwriting I want to do. These are the kinds of themes that I'm going to be talking about. It did. I was also unsurprised that it mentions a truck immediately, and I said in my notes, I have a feeling that she'll be talking about being in a truck quite a bit. And that proved an accurate prediction.
What is that supposed to mean?
She's got to talk about trucks a lot. That's a thing. That's how that's the number one way to cars and trucks are a big deal. I think. I also thought. I said I've definitely never heard this song before.
Okay.
And I thought the first time she sang, I think it's the chorus where she said, "Think of my head on your chest." I thought that she said, "Think of my hair on your chest," and I was listening and I'm like, this is, like, way too, this is, I felt like she doesn't know it, but she's writing a song about what this song is about, whether she knows it or not, is like, hey, when you listen to Tim McGraw, I hope you think about how we had sex in your truck that night. Like that.
Right.
That is what this song is about, I think. But just not because the person. Because I think it's fair to say, and I hope not dismissive to say that if she's writing most of these songs her freshman year of high school, and especially since she considers herself kind of, I think she enters the music business as a songwriter. Not as like not necessarily as like I'm an artist expressing myself either, but like I'm a songwriter. I want to be a country songwriter, which I think is really cool. But to me, part of what that means is, especially if she's thinking, I know she's writing songs for herself and she can sing them and everything, and they're about her experiences. But she's also, I think, open to writing songs for other people. And so there's a certain way in which, especially if they're written by a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old girl, like, I'm not convinced she's experienced these things. I know was this supposed to be about her boyfriend was a senior, and she was a freshman in high school?
I mean, those are the autobiographical details she drew on.
Right. And so she knew that they wouldn't stay together when he went to college, basically. And that's supposedly what the song's about. But I sort of think, like, I don't know, the little black dress reference. It's like, that's an adult reference to make. I don't think 14-year-olds have little black dresses.
Well, let me jump in real quick. Okay, I think you have a solid reading of it, I guess. But the way I read the song, I pretty much the way I did it first, before I'd read the Wikipedia stuff, was I just looked at the lyrics and drew everything out of them that I could. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't specify her age, so this could be an older woman, like, you know, definitely the impression you get from the lyrics is that this is like a summer romance. I imagined it between younger people, you know, high school age kids, I guess.
Because if you're having sex in a truck, like, it's probably because, like, you don't own your own home.
Right. Well, but I also thought, too, there's the line, it's just a boy in a Chevy truck that had a tendency of getting stuck on back roads at night, which I thought there's really good characterization in that, because I can just picture the guy being like, hey babe, let's go for a ride, and then like, oh, here we are on this gravel road, my engine died, you know, what are we gonna do? So I like that line, but so yeah, I guess I pictured them as being high schoolers. I was surprised when I read the autobiographical details. I felt like maybe I'm wrong. I felt like a senior dating a freshman at my school would have been kind of a taboo thing.
I know. I think it happened a lot, but like, it's hard. As when I was a freshman, I felt like the seniors were adults, and I was a child. I was very much like, I'm a middle schooler still. So it would have been, it would have been a little bit weird, I think. Right.
Okay. See, and yeah, in high school though, I had like no idea what was going on, which is not
me neither, really.
Yeah, it's not really different from my adult life, but it was like, I didn't know who was dating who, and I didn't even know when prom was senior year, stuff like this. So I was very out of that loop. But I do feel like that was a little surprising. I was a little surprised to learn that. But just looking at the lyrics, I pictured it as like, it says something that this is like 3 summers ago. She wrote this letter after he left, and I pictured not thinking like, oh, he'd left for college. I just thought they split up. But that it was like I guess my reading was that he had lost interest and she was heartbroken, and she wrote him this letter and that contained the chorus. And so she at the end of the song leaves this letter containing the chorus, like, I hope when you think of Tim McGraw, or when you hear Tim McGraw, I hope you think of me. That she left him this letter like 3 years later, kind of hoping either hoping to get back together or hoping to convey to him that just regardless of how it turned out, she wanted him to know that had been a really special time for her, and that she didn't feel like it was like time wasted, or that the memories of the time spent together had been ruined or something, like that. It still meant a lot to her. So I thought I really liked kind of that. I mean, that was how I read the song.
Well, I agree with you, and I think the part of the problem. See, there's 2 ways to look at this. I think there's one as a songwriter. There's nothing. I mean, if you're just looking at the lyrics, or just like thinking about this as a song written by somebody, then yeah, I think the kind of characters you populate it with are like, okay, high school aged people, just having a fun summer fling. The thing is, though, when you put it in the when she's the one performing it, and it's like she sounds like a kid. She doesn't sound like a grown woman when you listen to her sing the song. And
she's 16.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. And she does sound like a grown woman now, but she really didn't then. And that was a huge part of both her marketing and her appeal is like almost all of the reviews that I've read are like, she sounds so naive and innocent and like hasn't been jaded yet. And so there's like on the one hand, an element of like kind of creepiness, I think, in like mostly male middle-aged rock music or pop music critics. Like, she sounds so nubile like when she's singing. But it also is like, you know, when I read that line from 3 summers back, I was like, oh, so when you were 11. Like,
right.
Like, okay.
See, this I feel I'm not going to say that's the wrong way to read the song, because obviously, you know, I have no authority to say that. But I feel like this is something that comes up all the time when people talk about Taylor Swift. There's this confusion of kind of the mix, like and you know, that it could be deliberate or it could just be an accident, but she mixes fiction and like kind of these romance tropes and things like that. She mixes that in with her real life experiences to create the song. And so I think people, to me, it's not super important what actually happened to her and what didn't, because I kind of view it as more like she's a fiction writer. She's a fiction writer, and so I'm trying to approach it like that. So I guess coming at it from an angle where it's like we're trying to, like, this is her, like, how much of this actually happened to her. I think people do that all the time with her songs, and I guess maybe this is why I like Taylor Swift, and then other people who are reading it that way. Maybe that's a part of the disconnect or something, that they can't oh, how can she sing about an ex-boyfriend that way, or something like that. But I guess I always feel like the songs, regardless of how much of them we read like in a tabloid, like this is true, I always read them as fiction, and I'm pretty impressed just kind of with like the like another thing. There's the line that's repeated at the beginning and the end. He said, "The way my blue eyes shine, put those Georgia stars to shame that night." I said, "That's a lie." So that's at the beginning of the song, and at the beginning of the song, we see, like, I feel like I'm thinking, okay, she's she sounds very young when she's singing. She's innocent, but then when it's repeated at the end, it's kind of like, it has kind of like then when you re-listen to the song, it's kind of like she knew maybe that he was putting her on, but she didn't really care. Like she was still in it, and she was still having a good time. So I don't know. And so maybe I'm listening to the song from this angle and appreciating that. And then, I guess, not that I would discourage you from reading the music that way, but maybe to keep in mind that there's a lot of fiction and,
right. And that's fine. But, and I agree with you that there's writing songs more sophisticated than you are is a good thing to do, I think. I mean, it's a good, to me, that makes her more of a good songwriter, that she's able to do that. My thing is, she wrote the song, but they also gave it to her to perform. So if you put this song in like Miranda Lambert's mouth or whatever, then it's, and Miranda Lambert's an adult woman, and who's performing the song matters too, not just like because of their biographical information, but this whole album is, I would say, about her. They're not presenting her as a grown woman. They're presenting her as like a serious but still teenaged pop artist, who is like a remarkable, I think part of the package is like what a great songwriter she is for her age. And so if her age is part of her identity as a performer, even without knowing all this biographical information about like what the song is kind of about, that matters in terms of like the pathos that she brings to the table, how she performs it, the quality of her voice or whatever. I think there are probably performers out there who maybe would sing this with more of a kind of who would be able to pull off the backward looking like nature of the song, because they would actually be able to look backward at something other than them being 11 years old or whatever. So
right.
I think that this song almost comes off better when you just read the lyrics, because I do think these are probably some of the most poetic lyrics on the album, and there is something really, I think, intriguing about the way she ends the song on that line. I just think as a performer, if what she has in her wheelhouse at this time is being like naive and vulnerable and young and girlish, then it doesn't work as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can hear that. I hear what you're saying. So, taking that perspective, I know you were a little worried that you didn't have the songs memorized, but so jumping, this is the second from last track, Mary's song, that were about the young girl and the young boy who grow up playing together, they fall in love, they get married and grow older. So, did that bother you? Did those same kind of things bother you for that track, or was it more because the first track, Tim McGraw, is kind of, there's a sexual angle, or sexual content, I guess, in it.
I think this one, I don't know why, but it was just immediately apparent to me that she wasn't singing about herself. Like, it sounded like, even though she was using first person in the song, to me, it was like, oh, she's writing about someone she knows. Like, this is a story about at least a friend, maybe, like, I thought it maybe was about her mother. Like, I asked Lee, what's her mom's name again? Because I thought maybe her mom's Mary, and I don't have a good reason for that, except that I knew that it couldn't be her, you know? Like, I know, okay, she can't be singing about her own experience. And this song, it just kind of had a quality of, like, maybe, and probably she's evoking this on purpose, but even the kinds of activities she's talking about sound like a 50s idea of, like, what kids do for fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it sounded like she was talking about somebody older. So it didn't bother me. I didn't like this song, but I didn't go like, okay, you're writing a song about having sex in a truck. That's just not what you mean to be writing.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on.
I think Tim McGraw is a good song. I do. I think it's a good song. As I said, until I got to, like, Should Have Said No, I was like, the first Tim McGraw and Picture to Burn are the best songs on this album. And if I were to shorten it to an EP, I would keep Tim McGraw on there.
Okay. So we've got 5 tracks you're keeping, it sounds like.
Yeah. At least 5.
Okay. Should we move on to Picture to Burn, or
sure.
Okay. So this is a song about a relationship that did not work out. I guess I don't need to run through it. We decided not to do that. I guess I'll my thoughts on this song. I liked it. I think this is a good one. It's I like how it's angry, but then there's the humor in it. Like, go tell your friends that I'm obsessive and crazy. That's fine. I'll tell mine you're gay. I thought that was funny. Which
they changed for the music video.
You know, and they changed it in the lyric book too. The I'll tell them you're gay changes to let me check.
It changes to that's fine, you won't mind if I say, by the way. So yeah. Yeah, so that's what they have. And then there's also I hate that stupid old pickup truck, you never let me drive. I think that's kind of like a funny, I just picture that as, like, they're always fighting, like, you know, let me drive the truck, and, you know, I thought that was some humor in it. So anyways, it is an angry song, but I like how it kind of has that intelligence and self-awareness about it, that she can see the humor in it. So yeah, I overall I like the song. It's not a favorite, but so yeah. How about what did you think? Yeah, I liked this song. I like the line, "That's fine, I'll tell mine that you're gay." I feel like that's kind of a little bit of edge that I wouldn't expect from her necessarily, and I think it is funny. And I can't imagine anyone finding that line offensive either. You know, I'm not gay, so I don't want to say, but I don't think that's an offensive line, because to me, what I think she's saying is, this guy is a redneck idiot, and that's why he'll find it offensive. You know?
Yeah, I read it more as, like, if you're, like, you know, say they're in high school, and he's you know, she's upset with him, she would tell all her friends, oh, he's gay, and so none of them would be like, they'd all be like, oh, well,
exactly.
You know.
That's what you do. It's not it's not like, she's not necessarily, I think, again, it's like character work in a way. It's like, it's not, just because you have that line in the song doesn't mean that you're saying that's that would be a great idea to do. It's just like that's what these characters would do.
Okay, yeah. So
Which
no,
is true.
I think the reason they maybe censored it or whatever for the lyric or for the music video, I don't think. I mean, I guess I could, with the internet, I could see people getting upset, even though that's pretty clearly not. It wasn't saying like that you're gay and gay people are evil or something, but I think they may have just taken it out because I'm guessing that the fan base turned out to be a little younger than they were expecting, and so maybe they took some. Because there's I think she says "damn" or "hell,"
yeah,
and that's taken out of the lyric book as well. So I'm wondering if maybe they just, and that's all very PG stuff. So, but I could just see them thinking like, well,
Radio Disney or whatever.
Yeah, so like, oh, well, if a 5-year-old girl buys it, like, we'll just take that out, that's, so I think that's probably more where that came from. But yeah, the first time I heard that, I was actually pretty surprised, because I listened to this album by the time I was already a fan, but I was like, I was running out of new material to listen to, so I got this. And yeah, I kind of laughed out loud at that. It was, it did not seem very current Taylor Swifty. But yeah, it's funny. So, all right.
I like the things in here that make her sound her age. This sounded like kind of like a very kind of Shania Twain like song. I also thought like one thing about this. I like this song, but it sounds very arbitrarily country. If that. If that makes any sense. It's like, okay.
Yeah, they pull out all the stops.
Yeah, if you just if you change the dumb banjo solo to just a regular guitar, maybe took out the continued truck references, it would just
really hate trucks.
No, I just find it funny because like there are so many country singles about trucks, even right now. But yeah, like it just seemed like, oh, hey, you wrote just a straight-up pop song. We need to make it kind of country. Throw a banjo solo in there. And, yeah, like, just let it be what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
And there are other songs that have country instrumentation on them that I'm like, okay, yeah, that is really... Like, Should Have Said No, I think the country instrumentation really helps the song.
Should we pick up with track 3, Teardrops on My Guitar?
Yeah.
All right. What did you think about this one, Kit?
Okay, this is... I hate this song.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the least... part of what I'm drawn to in my Taylor Swift obsession is kind of the extremely healthy intuition, I guess is the only way I can think, how she approaches emotional situations and emotions in general. And I feel, yeah, I kind of agree. I like the song. I've grown to like the song just because it's a Taylor Swift song, maybe. But I do feel like this is probably one of the least maybe healthy songs in her output. So why did you hate it?
Well, okay. First of all, I'm assuming this is really about a person named Drew.
Yes.
Otherwise, why in God's name would you choose that name? Because it's like the least poetic name ever. And those first lines, I'm trying to remember the exact melody. Drew looks at me. Like, what an opening to a song. That is just, I mean, that is dirge-like.
Okay.
Just
I don't know that
terrible.
I don't think my response was quite as strong as that.
But is this the song where she has a line like, I'll put your picture away and like maybe get some sleep tonight or something?
Yes, that is the song.
Okay, that's what I said to Lee when we were listening. I was like, that's a little, like, that's not good. Like, if you're just staring at a dude's picture and not sleeping, like that, like you said, that's not healthy.
Right. This is okay. So I agree. We're in agreement that it's not a very healthy song. And part of what I turn to Taylor Swift for is a little positivity and emotional health. But let's maybe give her some credit.
Right. She's allowed to write about unhealthy things if she wants
Right,
to.
exactly. And also, I think these are, I was speaking for myself, these are emotions that maybe I haven't felt quite as intensely. I've never lost sleep staring at a picture of a girl. But, like, I think back to, like, when I was in high school, like, I constantly, I mean, middle school, too, I always had, like, this giant crush on some lady. And you do kind of get, like, kind of crazy about it, I guess. And it's not, like, a healthy thing. But, like, you're young, you're still kind of, like, learning your way around that kind of stuff. So I feel like the song's totally forgivable, but it's in terms of, like, me listening to it 8 years later, particularly as a 28-year-old man, not so much.
I said that too. I was like, I just don't think I relate to this theme at all. And I said, but I guess a lot of girls do. And so, like, just because I don't relate to it is not a reason to dismiss it. But, and here's the thing. I think aside from anything you want to say, it's a bad song. But I will, but I do think, like, part of my just, like, reaction to it is, like, I did not have this experience ever. And it's a huge theme of her music, which is fine, and obviously she has a lot of fans who relate to that part of it, but that's a big thing that I might just not connect with, is like the, like, notice me, or, you know, I'm obsessed with you, notice me thing. I just didn't do that, really. I got, like, big crushes on guys or whatever, but, you know, what would usually happen is I don't know, like in like freshman year, like let's say there were a lot of like really cute senior guys, but I didn't expect or want to date any of them. It was just fun to like talk to my girlfriends about them and like look at them and stuff. And when I did have later on, when I did have crushes that like went somewhere, like I don't know. It was like I didn't want it to come to anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think maybe I relate a little more to the song than you, but yeah, I hear you that it is that it's not. Yeah, this maybe is not something that everybody experiences, but
yeah. Well, and it sounds, and I think it's just like I just think it's the first song on the album that I'm like, this is just sounds really amateur hour to me. And
you know, that's interesting because this was like the biggest song on the album, so maybe
I've never heard it either, which is also weird.
Well, yeah, and I didn't hear it until pretty late in the game. I think it must have just been. I mean, it must have just. I don't really listen to the radio, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe this song is where a lot of the initial kind of dislike of her comes from. Like this might have been the first time people heard her, and then this is the first chance they gave her, and so it was kind of like, you know, Nathan Rabin, like we were talking about last week, was saying how it's all from like a terrible diary and stuff.
And I'm gonna say like this. I mean, that is what it sounds like to me.
Right.
Like I have to say, it's also the third song out of 3 that talks about sitting in a car.
Yeah. Why do you hate cars?
I don't hate cars. I have no problem with that. I'm just saying it's, you know, it's great.
I know. I'm just I guess I'll say there's a line that comes late in the song. He's the time taken up, but there's never enough. I really like that line. She's just talking about how like obsessed she is with this dude. And I don't know. It doesn't. I have a hard time explaining even what that means. But I feel like I completely get the feeling where it's like you're so obsessed with somebody, like their time and their, like, you know, they're like space, and they are your entirety of your existence or something like that. I like that line. But yeah, other than that, I could do without this song.
I'll tell you. Can I tell you a song I hate?
Sure.
Or a line I hate. Sorry, a line I hate when she says, "Wishing on a wishing star."
Yeah.
That doesn't mean anything. That is like the definition of a placeholder lyric. Like she might have as gone like that. It's yeah. I'm sorry. This song is just like musically, it's just nothing. Like forget the like. You can criticize it for other things, but like my number one problem with it is just not a good song. It just doesn't sound like, it sounds like the first song you write when you learn how to play something.
Right. Well, fair enough. I think I will guarantee you that there is nothing like this on any of the following albums. Although the Christmas, we'll say the entire albums. The Christmas album I'm not a fan of, but that's only like 5 songs or something. So.
I'm excited for that.
So enough of this hate. Let's move on to track 4, A Place in This World.
Another song I don't like.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything to say about this other than, I guess, the general message that she accepts that she will make mistakes, knows that others feel like her, and embraces the mystery of life. I think those are all good messages, but it is a very generic song.
Yeah, it's very generic. I said it feels like a throwaway. It has a pretty vocal, I think. And there isn't really anything specific about being a girl, you know what I mean? Like, I think it would be maybe slightly less generic if where she, you know, I'm just a girl in the world, like, but there's nothing about, she could say I'm just a person in the world, or I'm just a teenager in the world, or something, because I don't think there's really anything specific about being a girl in this song. And I just feel like The Outside is draft 2 of this song, and it's much better. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and this was written with Robert Ellis Oral and Angelo. I don't know
it sounds like 5 people wrote this song. So.
Right. But yeah, there's just it lacks that that poetry of some of the other songs, I think. So, all right. I guess moving right along then, we're going to go to number 5, Cold as You. Did you like this one, Kit?
Not really.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Well, actually, let me review this one.
This is the I wrote in my notes, I said, to be fair, I've never listened this closely to someone else's like first pop album, so maybe they all suck this much, but I just don't like why is this song here? That's how I feel like what is it about? What is she talking about? It's just not successful at drawing the picture it's trying to draw. Like, I feel like she thinks that the line, like, what's the key line? Like, I've never been anywhere as cold as you. I think that's supposed to be like, I mean, it's the last line of the chorus or something, and so I think it's supposed to be like, ooh, what an interesting, like, way to think. She's talking about this dude, like, he's a place, and it's real cold. But it just doesn't, even the way that she words that line, it doesn't really bring that across. You know what I mean? It's just like, ugh, generic.
Yeah. Again, yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't. This song, I have no strong feelings on it either way. It's kind of like Place in This World, where it just kind of feels like something you might hear on the radio and never really think of again.
I have 3 more strong feelings about it.
Let's hear them.
One is, I'm getting, at this point in the album, I mean, most of these songs, maybe not A Place in This World, but those songs have been about, like, boys. And a lot of the songs have been about, or all the songs have been about boys who you've broken up with or, like, don't notice you. And at this point, I'm like, okay, does she ever make a mistake? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that's a super common theme, and like especially in pop music, where like if you're singing a song about a guy who broke your heart or is breaking your heart or whatever, you're not going to be like, hey, I maybe contributed something to the situation as well. But it's starting to get annoying of like, okay, you're perfect and everyone just screws you over, you know, for some reason, and that's kind of annoying. Also, I think the number 1 most annoying line on the album so far is of a mess of a dreamer with the nerve to adore you. Oh, good lord. It's like so, but at the same time, it is so simultaneously self-pitying and self-aggrandizing that, like, that's a pretty good encapsulation of how teenagers think. I'm pretty sure. Like, you know, I'm, the whole, like, I'm perfect and you just poop all over me is, the world just poops all over me is pretty, like, that's pretty accurate. So I can't, like, blame her for feeling that way, and I think she's probably expressing something real there, but I still, as a 26-year-old, find it super annoying. And as a 16-year-old, I think I would have found it pretty annoying.
Okay, I went back. I went back to some of my old, just to kind of see what my writing was like when I was her age, you know, mid-teens. I'm not exactly sure how old I was, but I used to write, like, little short stories or just things like that. And I read probably 6 or 7, like, you know, 2-page stories that I'd written between probably the ages of 13 and 16, and they were awful. Like, I was depressed for a day that I was ever that stupid. So I think, yeah, again, like, I feel like this song is far beyond anything I would have done at that age. but it is, it's still too teenagery for me at the present moment.
Yeah, and it's like, I think part of it is she understandably maybe lacks the self-awareness at this point that would lead her to go like, maybe this relationship that I'm having as a 14 or 15-year-old is not the same as a relationship that people have when they're like 24 or 25. You know what I mean? Or well, even like 18.
Have you heard the song Back to December?
No.
Okay. That's a song I point to because I've had a friend actually say the same thing, that she always just blames her problems on the man. And I think that's one where it's cool because, like, as you listen to the albums, you kind of get to see her mature mentally, and I feel like that's a song that's a really good example of her being like, I messed up, and I don't know, it's cool to see that. And I'd have to go through Fearless. I haven't really listened to that for a couple of weeks. I'd have to go through and see if there's something like that on there. But I know that by the time you get to Speak Now, she's an adult, you know, and she has much better perspective on stuff.
Yeah. It's just like not having, this is written, and again, I don't know whether this is like a fault or just like, it's just not for me. Probably more it's just not for me. But the idea that like the relationships I'm experiencing now are obviously as mature as anyone's relation, you know? And part of my problem is I didn't have relationships with, I mean, she's done, one of the notes I make like later on is like, wow, she's done so much. Like,
right.
that I didn't do till I was like 18, you know?
Right.
Like, and maybe maybe I'm the weirdo in that case, but like, yeah, I definitely wasn't hanging out in dudes' trucks or whatever when I was 14 years old.
See, and I was, but
okay.
It was...
yeah.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I'm completely... I mean, like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, I have, like, and continue to have almost zero, you know, truck nights, romantic truck nights with the stuff like... So, yeah, it's all... Maybe that's why I'm so prone to reading it as purely fiction.
Yeah. People don't really do this.
Yeah. Nobody... People kissing? I've never heard of such a thing. But yeah, so let's move on to a song that it seems like you liked quite a bit, The Outside, track number 6.
I didn't write that much about this song. I think part of that is just that, yeah, it's just a fine, strong pop song. I think it's interesting. It's not about a boy, you know, really. I mean, it might be. I'm not totally convinced, but it sounds like it's just like, hey, I feel like an outsider, and I don't like that, which is kind of the number one sentiment of, you know, the ages like 12 to 18. So I think, and it's just, it sounds good. It sounds like somebody just wrote it in an afternoon and it emerged fully formed, and rather than something like a place in this world, which sounds like a bunch of producers got together and they were like, what do we do for a bridge here, you know? Yeah. So I just think I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, I like the song too. I read it, like I said, I read the lyrics real carefully before I read any biographical stuff, and I guess, you know, she wrote this when she was 12, and that it was, you know, it was about her feeling sort of alienated from her peers for various reasons, but I just looked at it as she's trying to make it, like, she knows that she wants to be a musician, and she's trying to make it in the industry, and she can't quite get her foot in the door, and that it was just kind of, a song addressing those feelings, and I don't know, I liked it. I mean, I could relate, and I was also a little disheartened when I found out that she was 12 when she wrote it, because I was like, you know, but there's nothing wrong with relating to a 12-year-old. We all share the same emotions and stuff, I guess. I don't know. So
I think when I was like 11 and 12, that was 6th grade, and I just moved from Oregon or California to Oregon, and you know, I wouldn't have ever listened to this song, but but like, yeah, that's how I felt. Just like, hey, why, you know, why can't I just hang out with you, you know? And I mean, at least at first, when I first moved to like my new school and stuff. So I mean, that's like a universal experience, I think. Yeah.
All right, we move on to 7. Tied Together with a Smile. What'd you think, Kit?
Don't like this one.
Didn't like this? How come?
I think, again, I take note. I think it's actually a noble, thing to write a song about. Kind of passes the Bechdel test a little bit. It's just not a good song to me. There's a grand tradition of songs about, like, suicidal or, bulimic or whatever, drug-addicted friends. And this just it just sounds like a million other songs to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand, like, just trying to read the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
It switches about halfway through, and I was unable to determine what it was about until I got online to read what it was about.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the line, I guess it's true that love was all you wanted because you're giving it away like it's extra change, hoping it will end up in his pocket. I thought that was like a clever line.
Yeah, but you stopped short of the best line of the song.
Right.
That's the name of my one-woman show, Penny in the Rain.
Right. What does that mean?
It's terrible. It means it rhymed.
Okay.
It makes me think of, like, there's a Comedy Bang Bang episode called A Peanut in the Rain, and this is only slightly less hilarious. Penny in the Rain.
See, and I looked it up on Google to see if there's like a phrase, like if that meant something. Nope. That's something that people do.
Nope.
He leaves you out like a penny in the rain because it's not. Yeah, and that's exactly where I lost. Like I was like,
I think it's just something that you wouldn't even notice that you dropped, I think is the idea.
Oh, I thought it was like people were like going outside, putting a penny in the rain.
No, not like on the train track.
Like, yeah, like it was some sort of folk tradition or something like that.
No, I think it just means it's like she's worthless to the people who she's... that's an interesting moment where she's like giving your love away, and I think if I were to retitle this song, I would name it like Suicidal Slut Shaming or something like that. Like that.
Okay, so let's move on to track 8, Stay Beautiful.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I really like this song.
Mm-hmm.
It's let's see my notes. It's bouncy. It's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a fellow named Corey who is the apple of every dame in town's eye. I think that this is a much healthier crush than the Teardrops on My Guitar crush.
Yeah.
It's like less despairing and less selfish.
Yeah. I even thought for about half the song that maybe it wasn't about a crush. And then I was like, oh, wow, I really relate to this song. And then I was like, bummer. It's still about unrequited love. But I think it's a great song.
Well, how did you think it wasn't about a crush?
At first, I thought, because I think the opening, like, verse was a little bit mysterious. Like, I thought it was about just, like, a guy that she's friends with, who she thinks is awesome and other people don't think is awesome. Like... And I thought it was a song basically about her, like, hey, you're going to be such a catch. Like, you are clearly, like, you're beautiful, you're awesome, you're funny, you bring me a lot of joy. Don't worry that, like, the girls in town don't understand you because you're, like, a hell of a guy. Like, I kind of thought it was about that. And that is, like, oh, yeah, I love the idea of a song about that. But even though it's just about, like, I thought it was a friend zone song, basically.
Right.
But... it's not, but I still think it's a really good. It's a really sweet song.
Yeah, I agree. I like just kind of continuing on with the healthy emotion that she kind of gets on top of the the despair from the Teardrops crush, and just kind of accepts like certain things are out of her control.
And I can still tell you, hey, I really like you.
Right. Yeah, and I thought it was funny his name was Corey, because to me, Corey sounds like a douchebag name. Which I apologize to any Corys out there. There must be some association from some movie I saw years ago, where Corey was like the guy who drove up in his Ferrari and was like, threw a beer can at somebody. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so yeah, that's I like that song. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I like the line, if you and I are a story that never gets told, if what you are is a daydream I'll never get to hold, at least you'll know. And then the chorus starts in, you're beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's really sweet. So yeah, good job.
Yay! Hurrah!
Hooray for T-Swift. Okay, moving right along. I think we're on hour 7 of the podcast right now.
Okay.
So, Should Have Said No. Now this, you said, was your favorite song of all time? Is that what you said, Kit?
Yeah, that's what I said. This is the best song I've ever heard. This is the pinnacle of American songwriting.
Mission accomplished then. We got you to like T-Swift. by episode 2.
No, I actually, I'm not gonna put this on my iPod, but it's a really good song. It's a really good, it's like, damn, I wish I could write pop singles this good.
Yeah.
You know? Like, oh, and this is the one where I said, man, she's experienced so much. Like, there's a dude cheating on her. She,
Right.
she has like a suicidal / bulimic friend, rejection from boys, fudging in a truck, all that kind of like.
Yeah. I know, it makes me wish that I had been more engaged in high school. Apparently there was stuff going on.
Well, that's what I said. I remember a long time ago I wrote a Zanga post that I think Brandon was the only one who commented on it, and he just said, like, this is very endearing. And it was about this XTC song called Grass that was about, like, basically it was about, like, being high and, like, having sex, rolling around in the grass. And it's just, like, it's an amazing, amazing song. And I was obsessed with it, and listening to it, my thoughts were, like, did I miss a portion of life, you know,
Right.
by never doing this? By never, like, doing drugs or having sex outdoors? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because, I mean, friends of mine did that stuff, and I don't think that they're horrible people or anything. It just, like, would never even have, I don't even know how I would have gotten there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I would have even done differently for that to have happened. Because for all the talk of, hey, drugs are around every corner, and, like, kids, you got to teach your kids to say no because, like, they're gonna be, you know, have access to that stuff. Like, nobody ever offered me drugs. I never saw drugs being done, any of it.
Yes. I always felt like a huge loser because, like, me and all of my friends, there were like 4 or 5 like very close friends I had in high school, and like, I couldn't get drugs to, like, save my life. Like, nobody ever. I never got invited to a party. I never got, like, there were never any, like, drug dealers lurking around the corner that were like, hey kid, you want to buy some heroin? Which gladly I would have accepted any of these things, but yeah, it just never happened.
And the thing is, too, I was, at the risk of sounding insufferable, high school was amazing. I hated high school. It's the best time of my life. And I wasn't prom queen or any of that stuff. It just was like, I had cool friends, I kicked ass at school, like, it was so fun. I had so much fun. I really just did not. 9th grade, I had a little bit of, like, angst and a little bit of, like, eating disorder stuff, but, like, basically I still had a good time, and I made friends, and it was just, that's what I remember about high school. Not a lot of the, like, you know, wrist slitting crushes on people, you know, that kind of stuff. Just like, hey, I don't know, I felt very, everything was interesting. Like, I liked just observing what people were doing, but at the same time, I was not involved in like, I remember there was some party where 40 people got minor in possession, like, citations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I knew some of them, but, like, they weren't necessarily, like, my close friends, but, like, oh yeah, I went to middle school with that person, or I was on a basketball team with that girl. But it's just like, yeah, I don't know how those people didn't not like me, but I just didn't run in those circles or want to run in those circles, you know?
Right.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is I was super cool in high school. All the music I listened to in high school, I listen to now. I wasn't necessarily what would be considered super cool in high school, but I was cool. Yeah. I was the kind of kid I would want my kid to be, if that makes any sense, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew you'd be at Zanga. It seemed you were a cool lady, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I wrote on Zanga that definitely embarrass me now. Mostly just kind of like how obsessed I was with really dumb things like Phil of the Future and Lizzie McGuire and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But, like, for the most part, I'm not like, oh, I completely disagree with that opinion that I had when I was 15.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do we get onto that? Oh, yeah, what a life she's led.
Right. Yeah, I mean, in high school, I mostly, like, I wasn't a total, I mean, my group, we literally called ourselves the Losers. But it was kind of like as a joke. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much just, like, watched movies in my parents' basement for most of high school.
Well, yeah, I wore a full, like, Harry Potter. I had my mom make me a Harry Potter cape
Right.
when I was in high school, and I would wear it to school, and I was still, like, people wanted to date me. Like, I was still considered cute. I would wear prom dresses to school, like, every day. And I don't know. I just... There's something to be said for not caring what anyone else is doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
Well, you know, and the fortunate side is that now you and I get to relive, like, vicariously we get to live our high school, our cool person, like, conventionally cool high school life.
Yeah.
Through Taylor Swift's music. So that worked out well.
Well, like, I think that's a big thing, though. Like, maybe I wasn't cool, but I thought I was cool, and that's what really mattered.
Right.
You know?
And isn't that the greatest gift of all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stay true to yourself, kids. All right. The final note on Should Have Said No that I have is in all of her liner notes, she has certain letters capitalized that spell out messages. And this one, I thought it was funny. It just says, like, if you take all the capital letters and make them into words, it says Sam, 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 Sam. So I have to assume that means that this song is about a guy named Sam who cheated on her.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very subtle. You would never guess from those 6 Sams that that's about him. All right, so number 10, Mary's Song. This is one we've chatted about this one.
Yeah, I just said meh. That's my only note. It's just.
I really I think what I liked about this one, I wrote down. I like the imagery. It does draw on kind of tropes, and but I didn't think it was. It did that in a lazy way. I think it just very quickly pulled together kind of a clear story, picturing these kids in maybe like a more rural area. There's more trees around, and it's like a kind of a quaint little neighborhood or something, kind of old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a nice little story, and I think it's a pleasant little song. It's kind of mellow. And number 11, we're at the final track, folks. Thanks for staying with us for this 24-hour marathon. What did you think about our song, Kit?
Okay. This is another mention of a car. I wanted to say.
Sure. Yeah.
I think this is just, it's a great song. It's a great pop song. Thematically, it's really strong because it basically takes, like, to me, it takes, like, here's a tweet worth of, like, a cute joke. And that's how, and she stays really close in to that idea of, like, hey, you know, we didn't have a song, so this is what our song is.
Right.
And it's also kind of meta in a delightful way, which is, you know, that's nice. I think it sounds very early 2000s with the kind of rapping in the verse, and the chorus is almost like pop punk-ish. I remember Sydney, this is a song I have heard before, obviously, and I remember Sydney and I kind of like making fun of it in 2006 because we didn't know the words to the chorus, and so we would just do, I kind of gave you a preview of this earlier, we would just go, I'm strong as a flame spring pond. We would just like sing that to each other. But yeah, it's goofy, it's super country, it's very short, and in a way, other than Teardrops on My Guitar, it's like the most maudlin concept, but it's just very sweet song. I have one criticism.
What's that?
Okay, there's a line where she says, talking real slow 'cause it's something and his mama don't know, something like that.
Because it's late and his mama don't know?
Because it's late and his mama don't know. And I'm like, okay, talking slow does not prevent your mother from hearing you. Like, how about talking real low, Taylor?
Yeah, that was, I agree. That's a mild criticism.
Yeah, it's a mild criticism, but it's like, man, you say that line like 3 or 4 times.
Right. But I guess, okay, I was real proud of this. This was my assessment. I'm just going to read it. I know that's probably doesn't sound good, but nobody's ever going to listen to this anyway, so that's cool.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so...
Just hold me hostage.
Yes, well, exactly. I mean, that is essentially what we're doing here. Okay. You're learning, as we established last week, I'm doing this because I love to talk about Taylor Swift, and you're doing this so you can learn more about my psychology.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our 3rd solo writing credit on the album. It's a song about a couple out for a drive. The girl remarks that they don't have a song, and the fellow tells her not to worry, for their song can be found in the very sounds of their relationship. A slamming screen door, taps on the window, hushed voices on the phone late at night, and his prayer that God play it again. The man is clearly a fan of musique concrète. And then, but in all seriousness, this is a brilliant song. The chorus is from his perspective at first, and then later it's from her, but only for a few words, but only a few words, like pronouns change. This switch shows how close they are, how on the same level. And I also like the explicit convergence of music, life, and love, how they become one feeling. It's a quintessentially Swiftian sentiment, and it is brilliant.
Yeah.
I like this song.
And I like that...
Wasn't that so good, though? I was so proud when I read
Good
that.
job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
But yeah, she writes... I mean, she writes... It's interesting that this follows a kind of conventional gender setup where, she's like, hey, we don't have a song. And he's like, hey, we totally do. And then she's actually the one who's writing the song that they have. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I don't know. I find that compelling. There's a lot packed into this little dorky song.
I think it's a good sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Some
and again, it's a song that she wrote on her own that is the strongest song on the album, I think.
Yeah. It says she wrote this for freshman year of high school for the talent show.
I know. Good
That's
God.
crazy. I know. I really do think she was probably like a genius.
Yeah. Because we had kids in our school who were songwriters, and they couldn't write. They were not good.
Yeah.
They wrote stuff more like Teardrops on My Guitar.
Yeah. There's a reason she was the youngest person signed to Sony.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I really love that song. So we're winding down. Do you want to do Taylor facts before we close?
All right.
Okay. Okay, so Taylor facts, the way we're doing it now is I'm going to say 5 facts, and then you have to guess which one is the incorrect fact.
All right.
So,
Should we hit the theme?
Yeah. Are we going to have a theme for that?
Maybe.
Okay. All right, so Taylor facts. Number 1, Taylor has cited To Kill a Mockingbird as one of her favorite books. Number 2, New York Magazine once remarked that few singer-songwriters have written great records so explicitly about their teens. Her nearest antecedent might be 60s-era Brian Wilson, the one true adolescent auteur before she came along. Number 3, during the Speak Now World Tour, Taylor went through a phase where she was obsessed with Puff Daddy and for 2 months required her entire staff, family included, to call her T. Diddy. As a teenager, this is fact 4. Fact 4, as a teenager, Taylor made a point to download every song featured on the OC and Grey's Anatomy. Number 5, Taylor had never met Tim McGraw prior to recording and releasing her single, Tim McGraw. So which one of those is not true?
Well, without you saying anything, the T. Diddy one sure sounds fake, but that makes me think it's real, and you put it in there because it's crazy. So I'm going to say the New Yorker one is fake.
The New York one is, New York Magazine is fake?
New York Magazine one is fake.
Yeah, that is incorrect. That one is true.
Not because I don't think they're right, but because that sounded like something you would write.
Right. It does, and that's why I include. I mean, I wasn't trying to trick you, but yeah, I just thought that was really cool that they were comparing it to Brian Wilson. I love the Beach Boys.
Me too.
But she's also a fan of the Beach Boys, which makes me optimistic for the upcoming album. I think I'm hoping she's going to incorporate some Beach Boys kind of music style into it. Okay, but the fact that it's not true, you should have gone with your gut.
Damn it!
It's T. Diddy. That is not true.
But that's okay. Damn, I thought it was just. That's good. I'm glad she didn't do that.
All right. That would be funny though. T. Diddy. I think that's funny. No.
No. Terrible.
Well, fine. All right. Well, that's all for now, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week when we'll be discussing the self-titled 2008 reissue bonus tracks, Sounds of the Season, the Taylor Swift Holiday Collection, and the Beautiful Eyes EP, as well as the self-titled era music videos. Kit, thank you for talking to me for 2 hours about Taylor Swift.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Sure, I'm glad you seem to you enjoyed it, so.